Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you're watching from, and hello to the people in the chat. I can see people giving us some comments in the chat. There's emojis and celebrations. Hello, Brian Dang. Hello, Scott Duro. Thank you, Brian, for telling us that you can see us. Because here's what we're doing here. We are excited about catching up with each other, catching up on Ignite. And I said to E, how about we do a live stream for the first time? So we are live for the first time. Anyway, hello. Let's introduce ourselves in case some might know both of us or either of us. So my name's Lisa Crosbie. I am in Melbourne, Australia. My areas of interest here are really around Power Apps and model-driven apps and Dynamics 365, all of the cool stuff coming through with sales and the customer experience, marketing, all of those kinds of things. So just to put out there, and chatbots, Power Virtual Agents. So as we go through this stuff today, those are the bits that I've been, and Teams. I've got too many things I'm interested in. Dynamics and Teams. So there we go. So E, do you want to say hi and what you're into?
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone, I'm Elaiza Benitez. I'm based in the capital city of New Zealand. So if you're familiar of Lord of the Rings or the rugby team, the All Blacks, that's where I am currently at. And I am a Microsoft MVP. I've been one for 4 years now, and I'm really into Dynamics 365 Power Platforms. In terms of the Power Platform, I'm really into Power Automate and AI Builder. I've grown to love AI in the last couple of years. So seeing this Microsoft Ignite and having the focal point as AI was amazing for me. And yeah, that's about it from my side.
So we are going to spend, we reckon, an hour here, and we're going to limit it to an hour just because we think that's reasonable around, but I'm quite sure we could talk for
such a challenge.
And so what we thought we'd do is start from the top of, Satya's keynote. There's a lot of stuff to unpick from the Interfocus business applications session in particular from yesterday, or some of our other top picks of the announcements and things. So where should we start? The keynote, the big man himself, the keynote first up yesterday. I was up at 2:15 a.m. watching it live.
Yeah, same. So in my time zone of New Zealand, it was at around 4 a.m. So I set my alarm for 3:45 a.m. and I woke up and I was like, oh my eyes. But then as soon as I started, watching the keynote, so Satya's opening keynote, followed by Jared Spataro, so he's the corporate vice president of Modern Work? Digital Transformation
Microsoft
Platform.
365.
Yeah.
We're right on
I started feeling all of the energy. So even though my eyes were tired, my mind was stimulated and just marveled by all of the things that I was hearing. And one of the comments that Satya Nadella made in his opening keynote really stood out for me, and it was about bringing the business processes with data and AI in terms of bridging the physical and the digital world together. And I saw that from Jared's keynote, followed by Charles Zamana and Alyssa Taylor's keynote, where AI was pretty much embedded in the Dynamics 365 apps, Power BI. We also have an AI builder already as part of integrating with Power Automate. And then we also saw it as part of the demo in Jared's keynote, which was on Azure Open API services. That was really cool. So for those of you who didn't see it, there was a quick demo on this use case. So the use case was there was an NBA game, and while the NBA game was in progress, you had Open API services that was analyzing, this video feed and creating automated commentary, but not just commentary. So from the commentary, it then created a summary. So summary of the commentaries, but then it gets even better because then it could create a blog post that grabbed those summaries. And so with that blog post that it churned out, you could still edit it and publish it if you wanted to. And it was just really crazy because I didn't think that we would be living in this type of environment right now where we have that type of technology that can
seems like future
that digital
science
feed
fiction stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it was just really cool. What about you? What did you like from Satya's keynote?
For me, the headline piece for the bit from Satya's keynote was the part about Microsoft Loop, which is then sort of appears throughout, and we're going to come back to that. Microsoft Loop and Context IQ. These are two new pieces of jargon and terminology that we have to get across. But this thing about, the phrase hyper-connected is a key phrase that got used. So he used that. He did like his 4 big things that are influencing everything. And the second one was this idea of hyper-connected business. And I think we're seeing now, well, not I think, we are seeing the idea of business applications is bigger than business applications. And if you hadn't already cottoned on to that, this is the moment where it's absolutely crystal clear that we're talking about this stuff in the context of, we've seen even with Microsoft recasting James Phillips' role as digital transformation platform and so on. So that bigger picture where we start to say business applications live within the whole thing and that hyper connected piece. So there was a lot there. I mean, if I was going to sum up the whole thing, the top one word for all of this stuff as a theme for business applications right now is collaboration. It just comes up all the time, over and over again, and putting collaboration first, and then business applications become part of collaboration rather than the other way around. And that's a really big sort of recasting of that story. So I think that came through, and then came through in all the other stuff that we saw later.
And then to expand on that collaboration, it also talked about collaboration in terms of a working team. So we saw the avatar, so Microsoft Mesh with Microsoft Teams, where you can then go in, but instead of seeing, like you and me right now, the way we are as humans, we could essentially embed ourselves into the Microsoft Teams conversation as a virtual character. And I thought that was really cool. And that's going to be handy on days where you just don't want to, look.
So have you
like
done
this?
There was have you done any of the Altspace VR stuff?
Yeah. So I was a part of it. So I was one of the volunteers alongside Jerry. So that was on yesterday, and we had 3 rooms. So there was the community spaces, there was Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Microsoft Power Platform. So there were 3 rooms. So we were just jumping in and out of the rooms in Altspace VR. And if you want to get on board with Altspace VR, you don't need a VR headset. You can just download the app on your laptop or your device, and you create a user account, you log in, and then away you go.
So I've done that. I didn't come to that session this time around, but I joined a session once, earlier in the year, and just did it with my webcam. So that 2D experience of it. But the thing that impressed me about it is, and this goes back to that Microsoft, the Mesh in Teams experience. So if anyone missed that, that's about being able to, you present yourself as an avatar. And it's actually really good because you're talking to someone as an avatar, and this is the same experience in Altspace VR. You get a sense that you are talking to them. It's much better than just the audio, but you don't need to have your camera on, but you get the facial expressions, and you have a representation of that person that is how they're representing themselves, to, so you can sort of recognize who's who and have that conversation with them. But the audio exists like you would in a room, because one of the things, if you get like 10 people in a Teams call or something, if you imagine you get 10 people around a table, you never normally have a conversation of one conversation between 10 people, right? You go off and there's 3 people here, and you turn to this person and that person. So that's the thing I love. I can't remember the phrase for it. It's like situational audio or something like that, where if you and I are talking here, I can hear you, and I can hear background of the people talking over there. So that's what's coming to the Teams experience as well, which
that's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if in the roadmap they actually have the ability to replicate what has been done in Altspace VR, where you can actually bring up venues and you can walk around in the venues, and it's like as if you're there in person. Because in Altspace VR yesterday, when you're walking around, it's like as if you are at an actual venue, because as you walk away from someone, the audio from that chatter reduces, but when you walk towards another person, the audio gets a bit louder, because it's like as if you're near them. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was in the roadmap for Microsoft Teams, where rather than sitting in a room. Okay, cool.
I can't remember if this is Satya's keynote. This is why between us we've probably seen all of it. But there was one part where they showed, maybe it was in Jared's presentation, but it was like, here's people who are new to the organization having an onboarding meeting, and they were in a room that was like a a boardroom and someone was doing a presentation and you could see everyone in the room, and they used that phrase about how that audio would work. The funny thing is, it's like the ultimate in, we've all worked from home and I've certainly done a lot of top half dressing.
Yeah.
The avatars have the avatars have,
I know what
smart
you
from the
mean.
waist up, slippers from the waist up. I am dressed below the desk, but I'm not properly, shoes and socks. That's more than anyone needed to know. But the avatars are chopped off at the waist, which is actually quite, sort of at first look at it and it's like, oh, they've sort of taken that whole bottom half of the body away.
Yeah.
So it's like floating torsos. Anyway, I think it's from my experience of interacting in Altspace VR. I think that avatar experience is, if you haven't tried it, it's better than it sounds.
Yeah, I agree, because before Microsoft Ignite, like I have seen the past conferences talk about Altspace VR or any of the virtual reality environments, and I wasn't sure, and then this time I was like, I'm going to give it a go, and I actually really liked it. Like Kathy Moya, so she was the one who was leading all of us in terms of the Altspace VR track, even though it's not her official job. She did such a wonderful job, and Foyen and I, so Foyen, she's based in Ireland. You might know her from her story with Sterling. Is it Sterling Bank? Oh no, I'm afraid I might have said the wrong bank. I'm sorry, but like we caught up in there, and then she's known for creating this online virtual women's group for people around the world, and it's called Textilers. And her and I were thinking, oh, maybe we should do that as our final event for the year. We should have a virtual meetup, but in a mixed reality type of space. So looking forward to that. So watch this space. Cool. Yeah.
So we've got a few comments in the chat, and then let's get into the interfocus on the business application stuff. So firstly, just like hello to Jamie, Sebastian, Rashona. This is fabulous. Thank you, everyone. Arafat.
Yeah.
It's so good to see people joining live. This is a bit of an experiment for us. It's like, will anyone even turn up? So that's good. Now, Brian asks something about, firstly, major props to us for getting up early in the morning. So, I mean, yes. Now, I'll confess I had to Google this one on the side, or being it on the side. Besides the ASMR from Satcha's voice, how do you wake up at that hour? And that's something to do with the autonomous sensory meridian response, a tingly feeling that travels from the head downwards. That I think he's suggesting that we're getting some sensory pleasure from watching Satya Nadella at that hour. So I hope I'm getting that.
Well, I would like to say, before we actually go into the Into Focus deep dive in terms of what you and I both liked, I want to give a big shout out to Alison Wines. So she was one of the co-hosts of Microsoft Ignite this year, and I believe it was her first time. And I really thought that she did a really good job alongside there with Seth Wars. So that was really cool to see. So Alison, if you ever see this, hi, you did a great job. And I know that her and Seth, they would have woken up early to do the rehearsal, the last minute rehearsal before they went live. And I only know this because I was part of Microsoft Business Applications back in 2020. And that was nuts. I set my alarm for, I think, 10:30. I was up at 11 p.m. and then we went live at, I think it was like 2 a.m. in the morning, my local time. And I was just like, whoa, I can't believe we're doing this. Anyways, Into Focus, let's go.
Yes. All right. So, where do we start with this one? We have...
Well, you go.
Charles Lamanna telling the story all the way through on this one, which I loved, actually, sort of threading it all the way through. But what was our first... So this was the...
we had...
This is the 90... Was it 90 minutes? It's like an hour of...
85 minutes.
85. There we go. End to end focus. And this is what used to be the Business Applications launch event, but they've moved it this time around to be part of Ignite. And put it all through there. So the thing, and again, back to that collaboration and AI point, every time I've seen Charles Lamanna speak in recent months, he always starts with, start from data, use AI, built for collaboration. This is the sort of the new, the theme. You get the theme words, and I'm kind of hearing that message over and over again. So that was like the headline sort of, this is where we're going with this, just in case you haven't already noticed.
So the first person that we saw as part of the Into Focus was I believe Laurie Lampkin, who's the vice
Yep.
president of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Sales, Marketing, and Customer Service. And it was on a customer Sandvik Cormet. And then that led on to the next presenter, which was, I believe, Ryan Darby,
Martin.
who then talked. Ryan Martin or Ryan Darby? So
He's actually
spoke
it's
about
Ryan Darby Martin, but it's Ryan Martin.
Oh, Ryan Darby.
Three names when you see it on social media.
Okay, yeah, so then that led on to him talking about the Dynamics 365 customer service experience and just seeing how those two, several apps can work closely together was pretty cool. So we're no longer in that mindset where we just go to one app. It's now, several apps that you can use in your business. And going back to Laurie, what was really cool was that she was demonstrating the new, collaboration between Dynamics 365 and Microsoft Teams. And for those of you who are watching who are familiar with Dynamics 365, I think it was around 2016 or maybe 2018 was when we first saw Dynamics 365 and Microsoft Teams work together. And back then, I think from memory, we could only display like a view, so a table view into one of the tabs in Microsoft Teams. But now with Dynamics 365 Sales and Microsoft Teams, you can actually have a chat directly within Dynamics 365 Sales to kind of accelerate that sale process with colleagues or people that you need to get approvals with, such as getting approval for a discount on a sales order that a customer wants. And that was interesting. And to hear that there's a major enterprise out there, Sandvik Cormet, that's using this technology already is really inspiring, because they're not just, talking about this new and great thing. They're actually talking and demonstrating that there is a customer out there that is using this today.
So this is, for me, this is a huge thing. I've got a customer I've been working with here who's starting to look at it in preview. And I think now that it's gone live in our region here over the past weekend. So it's been coming. And I, had a bit of a play in private preview, but it's actually available here now. And I think it's pretty close to being rolled out everywhere. But this experience, and one of the things just in talking to, a couple of customers so far, there's a big mind shift that we're going to need to help people with on this, because if they're used to using something like Chatter embedded in their business applications, this is and I'm going to keep coming back to this. It's like collaboration first, business application second. So rather than going, I put my Chatter or I put my Teams into Dynamics, no, you're fundamentally working in Teams, and the chat experience then becomes embedded in a side pane, but it's actually Teams chat. It's not a Dynamics object. It's not a Dynamics activity. It's actually the fully featured Teams chat. So you can do your GIFs and your extra, emojis and attachments and things, and those chats exist in Teams. So people aren't using Dynamics. They can still be interacting with you in Teams, and you're getting that pane on the side. And it actually gives you a suggestion of, here are channels that might be related to this customer or opportunity, or here are, here are things that might, other chats. And I saw in one of the demos that a part of this I hadn't seen before. So I think this is new in there as they've been building out this feature. Here's someone who closed a similar deal in the last 30 days. You might want to talk to them. And it's like, okay, right. This is now not just about putting chat in the activity timeline of your business application. This is using all of that clever collaboration stuff, by the way, in the context of Dynamics. So it's really helping people to get their heads around that, I think, is going to be an important part of what we do.
Yeah, and then to sidetrack from that, that's where I want to talk about Microsoft Loop Components, because going back to Jared's keynote, in his keynote, he demoed how you can have a Microsoft Loop component embedded in a Microsoft Teams channel, and you can use Context IQ Editor. So Context IQ Editor is like this smart AI where it can give you like a suggested references of what you want to put in that Teams chat. And one of them is you can mention a Dynamics 365 record, but once it goes in the chat, you can actually see the full details of the record, but in the interface of a Microsoft Loop component. And we saw in that demo that when someone updates one of those fields in the Microsoft Loop component, it will reflect in Dynamics 365 in real time. And I was blown away by that because, again, if we think back to what it used to be probably about 4 or 3 years ago, in Microsoft Teams, we only had the ability to display a view, and now we can actually interact with the data. But you can actually see who's interacting with that data in real time in the Microsoft Loop component, in the same way that we're familiar with seeing the like co-authoring in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, which then kind of leads into what we're going to talk about later in terms of Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent, in terms of seeing that same experience as well.
That co-presence, collaboration in the apps, all of those things kept coming up as well, didn't they? And the phrase that gets used is multiplayer. Apps are now multiplayer.
Multiplayer.
You can see it's like, are we gaming? It's all just
I feel like I'm playing Tekken Tag again. Tag.
I see you on my Dynamics record. And then I can chat to you on the side and go, hey, I see you're looking at this opportunity.
And that's what Microsoft Loop does well.
On Microsoft Loop and Context IQ, because for people who are watching us who might not have watched the event, these are two really big important things. So Microsoft Loop is a new announcement, but it's, if you've been watching along, things like collaborative apps and fluid components and things have been announced, and I think this is now the product name that brings together that. So if you think of something like an adaptive card, but then some and then some more and then some more, that thing of being able to design a beautiful component and use it everywhere. So you can use it in Teams, you can use it in Outlook, and it's all live. You can work on it together. And, you know, in Outlook now, instead of just having, oh, here's my pane to track something down the side, no, here's a component sitting in the email where I've got my opportunity and I can update that, and it's like a live window into the thing. So again, rather than, oh, I need to go to Dynamics, no, I'm working on the Dynamics is just the sort of the source of that data to come in to work where I'm already working. So that's the context IQ. To be honest, the way that those terminologies were used, in my mind, it's pretty clear that Microsoft Loop is the thing that allows you to build those components. And context IQ is the clever, you know, in context suggestions of content. But it kind of, the language got used a little bit interchangeably when Charles Lamana was presenting it. He's like, context IQ allows us to do, and then sort of showed the loop components. I'm still getting my head around how those, is that just me?
No, I get where you're coming from. Yeah. Well, first of all, it was information overload. Let's be honest. All of these events are information overload. But going back to the Dynamics 365 sales and Microsoft Teams, the AI bit that I saw in there that caught my attention was when the person, so the salesperson, did a call within Microsoft Teams directly in Dynamics 365 sales, and we saw the AI in there immediately where it was automatically transcribing the conversation, and then afterwards it'll create a summary of that conversation, so that from you as a salesperson, when you go back and have a look at that past conversation that you had with the customer, you already see, you know, the conversations that you've had. And I think it also showed live, real-time live sentiment analysis. So I think it was like red, where it was like negative, and then blue, maybe? Or am I getting it mixed up with Microsoft Cloud for financial services?
In the omnichannel demo, so that demo that Ryan Martin did, that had the customer service piece, and there's that pulse check, that sentiment analysis on the call. So this is the other thing with the AI, is the ability to, and this is also part of the voice channel, which is a big, you know, the voice channel, native voice channel has been announced many times. It's now available. So that enables all of that sort of stuff, where it's actually going through and transcribing the call, detecting sentiment in real time, picking out action points, like all of that stuff is just a whole other level. But yeah, it'll give you a little sort of pulse check of the sentiment, so that you can, I don't know, decide you might need to take a different course of action. But
in both areas, so with Dynamics 365 and Dynamics 365 customer service, when it does like the live automation of the transcript in terms of the conversation, what I also liked at the end of it was, if, like I mentioned earlier, if you go back to that conversation, it will suggest actions for you, and that's where we're seeing that the AI kick in. So that traditional sense of behavior in terms of a sales team where, you know, previously they've had to make the call, they've had to, I don't know, have a notebook with them and write, or let's say they bring up OneNote and they type their notes and try to remember all the different things that they need to do after this phone call. It's essentially now there for you as part of this new app experience that we're going to be seeing soon. And that really excites me, because I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm falling in love with Dynamics 365 all over again because of all these cool apps that are now coming, well, that are being surfaced, and it's just like, oh, I want in on all of it. I want to be part of this digital transformation platform, because it's just so exciting, just seeing all these new clever business processes inbuilt into all of these apps. And I just think it's a really exciting time right now to be in this space.
So I've been following the sales insights. I'm a bit the same. I've, the sales insights part, as it used to be known with Dynamics 365 sales, and for a while it was like, oh, this is awesome, but it's not much, and there's these little pieces, and now you start to see it come together. And when we talk about the demo that Lydia did, that was
Lydia Williams.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What was what was that?
Yeah.
Before we get to that, there's some excitement in the chat about clippy stickers in Teams. Now, this is probably not
sidetrack.
Let's go there, because that's what the people want to talk about.
Okay.
Clippy stickers are a winner. I mean, I don't think that's part of the Ignite announcements, but they are a winner. And if you haven't yet discovered in Teams, go to your little stickers icon, and there's a series of clippy stickers. And on a similar theme, there was also within the Teams announcements. So if you look at it through the sort of the announcements in Teams, this is buried deep. But at the moment, we have 6 emoji reactions in chat. We're going to have 800, including.
Oh my god! Wow, it's gonna. Things are gonna get real.
The pressure of like, did that person like or love my message, and what should I read into it? Now it's just like 800 emojis. What does that one really mean? What are they really trying to say? We'll just go crazy. Cool.
Well, shall we talk about Lydia Williams' presentations?
Please. Yes.
Yeah. So we had. Oh, you go.
No, yeah. This was. I need to unpick this one properly, actually, because this was for me an absolute highlight. And again, there are about 6 different components going on here. I took a screenshot at one point and actually posted it internally at Barhead, where I work, and went, does anyone even recognize Dynamics 365 sales in this picture? Like, look at what's going on here, because this was a combination of, so firstly, it's using the Sales Accelerator, which is an underknown thing. I think that was initially positioned for, so Sales Accelerator allows you to set up sort of tasks and like a series of tasks that you need to follow. And it was originally positioned as, high volume, low touch inside sales, churning through the tasks. Here's your intelligent work list down the side. But in this demo, it was being used in the context of a B2B high relationship. So I think that way of thinking about what Sales Accelerator is and does is essentially, here is an intelligent work list of tasks that need to be done. And as you click on each one down the left-hand side, it brings up the actual record, the associated record, whether that's an account or an opportunity or whatever it is. And it went from, and the other piece that I was genuinely excited to see properly for the first time, and this is preview for us in December, so can't quite get my hands on it yet, was using customer journey orchestration to create a task for the seller. So this is your zone now, Power Automate, but customer journey orchestration sort of starts out as, this is marketing, but it's more than marketing, which is why it's been given this name. Here's a journey that says if someone's identified as likely to churn through customer insights, then create a task for the seller, and it's using Power Automate underneath. It's a flow underneath. So the idea of a journey is not just a marketing journey anymore. It's a journey that includes other stuff that you can do and ping that back into the sales application. Yeah,
but did you see the there was like a bit in Lydia's demo, so the customer was WB Mason, where it showed AI generating an offer, and if you wanted to use that offer, you could then again use Microsoft Teams to have a chat with your manager, and then you can just approve it, and then it just it goes with it. And I was just like, what is this? What voodoo is this? I want it. Give it to me.
If anyone hasn't seen this, and you can watch all this
Yeah.
on replay, this is the Interfocus Business Applications session, which
Yeah.
is from day 2. This is at about the 20-minute mark, and it runs for about 10 minutes. Please check that out. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's if you've got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It was that thing of like, we're using AI to determine now in a B2B scenario that someone might churn. We use that journey orchestration and flow to surface a task, but then there's also like an AI generated next best offer sitting there in the Teams collaboration thing we were just talking about. Yes, make that offer. Now it goes back to the customer journey and uses her preferred channel to send it to her.
And the preferred channels that they showed was either email and then I think like SMS.
There's SMS,
but then, but then the bit that actually blew my mind was, and I'd be keen to understand how this was actually done in terms of underneath the hood, but it showed how, I think the persona's name was May. When May goes to WB Mason's website, as in the retail website, that discount is automatically visible at the top of the site and applied to her shopping cart.
I missed that part. That was the engagement on the site. So I was too busy just going. I had to actually pause because that screen with the AI, likely to churn like a pop-up on the screen. There was also a thing in the top right. This wasn't the main game, but there's a thing in the top right. It was like number of opportunities, closed, lost one, and it was like a little bar chart in the top right. I'm like, what is that component? So I was like pausing it and trying to figure this out. I missed the bit on the website.
So the persona, the character again, May, she goes to the website and then it shows on the website and it's like in yellow and it applies like the 15% off, her order. And I was just like, whoa. But it wasn't clear if it was using Dynamics 365, is it commerce or retail? The one that comes with the portal. But I when I saw that I was just like, whoa, how does it know how to do that? And that's the thing. I think that's what Lydia was trying to portray, was that it's taking the guess out of what they want by actually knowing what they want, giving it to them, to the customer, to try and reel them back in to continue to purchase stuff from you. And to me that was really cool. But the next demo, oh my gosh, I just flipped. I was just like, what? Oh my gosh. So the next this is okay. So the next demo was mixed reality in Dynamics 365 Guide. So Lydia goes out to Toyota in San Antonio, and she's interacting with one of their I'm just going to call them technicians, so vehicle technicians, where he puts on, this VR headset and it's so cool. So what I mean by it's so cool is that the guide. So what I mean by guide is that it's like a virtual set of steps that someone can follow while wearing a headset, but also seeing, the object in front of them at the same time. And that's what Toyota in San Antonio is doing at one of their factories. And so this person, the technician, goes out to this vehicle, and oh my gosh, when he approaches the vehicle, it comes to life. Like it recognizes through like spatial recognition or something, and it shows the vehicle. So it was like a Toyota Tundra. Wow, I'm doing a lot of product placement right here. Hey Toyota. As the technician approaches the Toyota Tundra, like it's showing him what he needs to do and how to I think it was like putting like a box on. Oh, sorry, I'm butchering this. Putting a box into like the back of.
It was a tool.
Installing a box into the tray. Yeah, something like that. And it was cool because like it shows you virtually where you need to go, and then if you want to edit that guide, you can also do that as well. And so we see this demo where the technician calls his manager saying, hey, after seeing this particular step, I think there's a lot of time being spent on this. And you can see him checking a Power BI report where he's standing and confirming that, there's a lot of time spent on this particular step. And so he suggests to the manager, I think there's something that I can do to add to this guide so that it can help other technicians to complete this step quicker. And that's what he does. And then you see him place like these these hands, jazz hands, and position them where you need to like lift this cover up. And from there, I was just like, oh man, I'm sold. Like, this is really cool. But the exciting thing that made me think about, how else we could take this further is, so at the moment that was, within the business. But if you think about how can we put this to customers, the first company that actually came in mind, and again, I swear this is not product placement, I'm not sponsored by them, is IKEA. And the reason why I brought IKEA up is because I bought IKEA furniture before. This is when I used to live in Melbourne and work with Lisa Crosbie at Barhead. And putting together, your furniture with a paper manual, it's pretty hard. So I was just like, oh, I wonder if they'll make use of this coming up and coming tech one day for their customers, because I think that would be a lot easier to assemble furniture if you can actually see what you need to pick to put this desk together. But Dynamics 365 guides, I was sold. And it was funny because I didn't know anything about Dynamics 365 guides before, and that just shows that I didn't keep up with the release notes for it. Yeah.
I've always watched the guides part, and it's always been it's always a blue collar, someone comes in and fixes a thing while they have a thing on the screen, and it's been we've seen those demos for a while. This one was next level though, and watching the comments in so one of the other reasons for motivations for watching it live is you see the comments, and I find as someone who's a keen sort of content creator of stuff, to see how people respond to things and what questions they ask really fascinates me. This one, people were just going mind blown, wow, like this was, of all of the things in that Into Focus session, that was getting the most love in the comments. The part that got me was where he talks to the manager. Oh, guess what, collaboration, did I mention that?
Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft Teams. So that idea again of he's analyzing, getting the thing in the process, and then he needs to talk to the manager to say we should improve this process. Click, there's your little Teams screen in the VR headset, and the guy on the other side can see what he sees through the call, and he's like, I think this is how we need to improve the process. And the bit where he's putting the hands was actually adding a step to the process, and the manager was then saying, oh, move the hands a little bit to the right, and so on. So now we've got like citizen developer capability in guides, because this technician was doing it through the VR headset and adding them in there. The other thing up was that they were creating the original guide using AI Builder and the document process. Did you see that? So they
I did. I got excited.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that before either as a concept.
I did it, and again, as someone who loves AI, I was just like, oh my god, I feel like a nerd right now. I'm just like geeking out. I was just like, I want it. But it was just that whole session that made me go, digital transformation platform. That's the next thing, and I want to be a part of it. I know you want to be a part of it, and it's just an exciting time. And then, so next up we had Ryan Cunningham, who is the GM of Power Apps, and after that we had Steven Ciliano talking about Xerox. So this time the customer was Xerox. I don't know if you want to talk about the Power Apps segment. Do you want to talk about it?
The Power Apps segment, so Ryan Cunningham, and honestly, it's so nice to see these people. It's nice to see Ryan out of the attic. Ryan.
I don't know if he calls it an attic. I'm pretty sure he probably calls it his loft. But Brian, you can confirm that. Brian Dang, please confirm that.
We've also got to know each other's virtual spaces, and Brian has actually just confirmed that I do in fact have an IKEA bookshelf behind me. As if but Ryan Cunningham's space, and where we've all been working at home and virtually, some people have very anonymous spaces behind them. You and I have both done the very contrived background situation. Ryan works in a room that clearly has a sloped low ceiling, so I could call it the attic. It might be a loft. I mean, it's a beautiful space. It's not like he's locked away in the attic, but actually to get to see him like as a full person walking around in the world, it was nice to see Ryan. To see Ryan out of the attic. But he did a model-driven apps demo, and I think I'll just take a minute here on model-driven apps, because this has been one of my favorite things, and I think going forward in the next year or so, this is an area I'm certainly focusing on. And where I've done content on model-driven apps, it is going nuts. Like, people are really getting into this now, and I don't know if this is because Canvas apps has always had all of the attention in the Power App space. I think model-driven apps, maybe with the new certifications coming through, or people, I feel like people are just starting to go, I'm getting into this now, or it feels like that's hitting its stride. And some of the new stuff showcased there, so the new solution designer, this is not as sexy as Dynamics Guides, really, but still, this idea of being able to sort of go, here's an app, and here's here's the new solution designer. For those who follow closely and watch along, if you know Clay Wesner, so Clay Wesner did an awesome session, which we'll come back to, but he's one of the guys in the product team, funny guy, and he's got a profile picture, which is him sort of going, or something like that, right? It's a hilarious profile picture. But they used him as the technician persona in that demo. So they're like, oh, here's Clay, who's the technician. And it's like, Clay Wesner, technician. It was just fabulous thing. Anyway, not the main point. But they showed the new solution designer, and also that the other thing here is that convergence of Canvas and model driven. So custom page, create a page for your app, or bibbity bobbity boo, bring all these things in, and you start to look at the model driven apps now and what they look like. And again, that's unrecognizable from a couple of years ago. So that's awesome too.
Yeah, and the bit that I liked that Ryan showed, again, not in his attic, but in a lovely studio of the Microsoft Canvas, was so after he showed how to create a custom page in your model-driven app where you can, get started in terms of creating your Canvas app, what we saw was that he added a gallery, and then to the right of the gallery, in the pane, it showed, I can't remember what it was called, the tab, but you could click on the tab, and then you could actually input the type of criteria that you're looking for in terms of the filter to be applied to the gallery. And that's where we saw, it's called GPT-3, which is this powerful natural language query. And so as a citizen developer or everyday person that doesn't have a background in programming, you could essentially type that criteria. So I think it was something like print time in the last 30 days or something, and then beneath it you would see that formula automatically generated, which you can then apply to that gallery. And it was incredible. And when Parrot surfaced around 2016, that wasn't possible, and now fast forward six or 5 years later, that tech is now here. And we'll continue to keep seeing GPT-3 embedded into not only Power Platform, but to the other products in the Microsoft Cloud and the Microsoft ecosystem.
So that's already in Power BI as well. They use it to create DAX formulas with no code. So that's and we're right at the start of that no code journey. That's a space to watch for sure.
And then next we had Steven Siciliano, who's the GM of Power Automate. So he showcased the document automation toolkit solution, which is something that I absolutely love. I've done a webinar on it. There's a recording out there. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it. And then he showed the power of RPA with Power Automate for Desktop, which is now included in Windows 11. I know, and he's like, I'm not doing anything. Look, no hands. He probably learned that from Chuck. So for those of you, no hands, I'm not touching the keyboard. So for those of you who aren't familiar with RPA, particularly Power Automate for Desktop, is you've got two types of recording. So the first one is you could do a web recording. So essentially you could, let's say, log into a portal or a legacy portal, type in some numbers. Let's say you're completing like an order, and that will be recorded. And then you also have like the desktop recorder, where it's not linked to a web client or web application. You can bring up like an application that is in your PC or device, like a Win32 app, and you could do the recording from there. And so what those two recordings do is that it captures the steps, the actions that you're undertaking as a person, and then it'll show those actions to you in Power Automate for Desktop, so that you can start doing some automation. And if there are, let's say, some steps that you don't want included, so let's say you click somewhere that you didn't need to, you can easily just delete that. Or if you want to reorder steps, you can do that as well. And then with that Power Automate for Desktop flow that you created, you can then combine it with the power of Power Automate Cloud Flow. So in other words, you're bringing that experience from your local PC or laptop to the cloud by doing some further automation to enhance that business process of whatever you're trying to do. And that's really cool. So again, if you are on Windows 11, check it out. Just search for Power Automate for Desktop and you should be able to see it, and then you can just get started straight away. You'll see a bunch of actions on the left hand side, and you can have a play, explore, and see what type of automation you can do.
So Power BI was next after that.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. So again, we had Will Thompson, and the customer this time was 3M. And
you're so good at remembering all the names. You are the name queen, my friend.
But because I think before that it was it Arun? Yeah, and then Will Thompson came in and actually did the demo. And going back to what you said, so he did the whole automatically calculated calculations using, again, the natural language query that creates the DEX. But what I really liked was that you saw the DEX expression. I don't know what the correct term is. I'm sorry for the Power BI enthusiasts out there. But he just dragged it from like the right to the chart, and it just immediately got applied. And I was just like, what? Like, there's so many what moments in that presentation. But then the next thing that blew my mind was when he showcased how you can now embed a Power BI report into PowerPoint, and you can actually interact with it in real time. But it gets better, because if you only want to take a snapshot of that Power BI report, you can. So there was a way where he took a screenshot of whatever he was seeing at that point in time, in other words, a snapshot. And so it just showed the static image right there in PowerPoint. And I was like, what the heck? I was just like, oh, okay, I'm so like impressed right now by what I'm seeing. Yeah, so it's really cool.
I think this is the moment I say this every 6 months. This is the moment I need to learn Power BI. It's so much, right? It's just
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure people say that about Canvas apps as well. And I think with the whole natural language query, GPT-3, it's going to make it a lot more easier for people to onboard, in that whole sense that Charles Lamanna was saying, that we need to create more developers, whether you're a pro dev or a low code developer. And with this technology that we're seeing right now, that's certainly going to be possible. So it's really an exciting time to be part of the Microsoft Cloud.
I think there's definitely also a theme in, and even reading through the release notes, they don't explicitly call this out at an event like Ignite, but when you read through the 400-page release notes, as I do, there's a lot of features that are like making it easier to get started with this, making it easier to get started with that. They've overhauled the trial experiences across the board. The model-driven app thing that I was talking about, I'm seeing a lot more people getting started with it, but also the way that Ryan presented that, the kind of here's your starting point. It's not a behind-the-scenes solution explorer. It's start with creating your app rather than start with data table. So it's a very different, I think that focus on how do we get people on board and how do we make that first experience easier is definitely an overarching theme that sort of sits a little bit underneath the hood. But if you read into the detail, it's definitely called out there. Yeah,
it's really cool. And then our last presenter as part of the Into Focus business application sessions was in regards to the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services. So this was presented by, sorry, Lisa, Tom Yang. Tom Yang, who's one of the principal program managers over there at the Microsoft team. And it was incredible. And in terms of talking about starting points from what you said earlier, so this time the customer was Virgin Money. And so the persona was of this woman who recently got a promotion or a new job, and the Virgin Money automatically sent an SMS telling her congratulations and suggesting, hey, from our previous conversation, you wanted to get into starting investing, but you mentioned you wanted to do it after you got a new role or a new job. Do you want to set up a meeting? And then, in the SMS, it had a link. So she would just tap on the link, and then within her mobile device, she would be taken straight to the portal where she can then, schedule a meeting with a financial services advisor from Virgin Money. And then before the meeting, we saw that she received an email that had a survey, and in that survey, it asks her a bunch of questions in terms of what are your interests. And not only did she say, I want to invest more, but she also mentioned that I want to look at buying a house. And then immediately we see that she gets sent a pre-approval mortgage loan request application. So she's going through it. So it's like the company being proactive in terms of helping the customer get to where they want to go in terms of their financial goals. And that was really cool to see. And then when we flip it, when we see it from the user's perspective, so in terms of the financial advisor, we saw that they went into her record. They could see everything in regards to this customer in terms of her credit history, what loans she currently had, her accounts, some life milestones in there as well. So I think it showed like she was married and had some kids. And then what else did we see? I think we saw him again doing a phone. Sorry, when I say him as in the financial advisor, doing a phone call within Microsoft Teams, and you could see the application in the background with the Teams video overlay. And that was really cool. And then Tom was presenting how the customer said, oh, I've been a loyal customer for X number of years. Is there any way I can get like some type of discount? And then you would see that financial advisor quickly talking to his manager in real time, the manager approving in real time, and the financial advisor going back to the customer saying, hey, good news, we can give you that discount. It's been approved on our side. And all of that was really cool. And I don't know about you, but when you go to your bank in person, not like we have been able to do, well, I'm sure you haven't been able to do with the whole lockdown thing, but whenever I've been to banks and I've seen like the software that the bank is using, it was nothing like that. It was, it's like a type of old school user interface, but the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services was amazing. Like it's so visual, and it's so easy for you as a financial advisor to see the information that you need to see about the customer. And one of the things that I really loved about that visualization in terms of the application process was that there was a tab where the financial advisor, clicked on it, and he was presented with the documents. Now, typically in Dynamics 365, usually we see documents in the form of a subgrid. So in other words, we see the documents as rows. But in Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services, we saw it in like this beautiful visual layout where it had some coloring in terms of what was outstanding and what was not outstanding, and it was just nicely separated. You got to see a little bit more information than just what you could usually see in a row in a subgrid. And to me, that was incredible. And I was just like, again, wow, what a time to be living in terms of these apps that are now available for businesses from Microsoft in terms of the Dynamics 365 apps. Then again, it's that whole like digital transformation platform, and I so want to be a part of it. Just watching the session, watching the session just made me go, oh my gosh, I want to be part of it. I want in and all of it. Just give it to me. But yeah.
So this is the industry clouds piece, and all of that stuff is that Cloud for Financial Services, which went GA this week. The Cloud for Nonprofit also went GA this week, which is the one that I've worked a lot with. Yeah. I know that well. Yeah. If anyone's not across the industry clouds, again, just like add it to your list of things that you really do need to know about. This is about saying, let's take, and again, this is this whole digital transformation platform bigger than business applications. Let's take Dynamics 365, Azure, LinkedIn, Microsoft 365. There's 5 of them at a Power Platform. Let's take those. It's like there's 5 and my brain can always do 4, and I need to do them in the right order. So take all of those things, and this is the cloud concept. So if you know the tech, as you look at that, you go, oh, that's Dynamics, but not quite as I've seen it before. And oh, that's Power Platform, but isn't that clever? And that's tech. So it's using all these things, but they're pre-built specifically with that industry lens. So I think the hero piece in the financial services cloud is that unified profile that you're talking about, which is just, I mean, it's Dynamics, but come on, that's not Dynamics.
No, it's not.
Sort of go, all right.
It's like an extension, if I use a term that some of us old school CRM people are used to, which is XRM. It's like they've taken the core or the fundamentals of Dynamics 365, but they've just pushed the boundaries even further by injecting things like AI, Microsoft Teams, and just further enhancing that collaborative, as well as getting a single view of the customer. And just it's wow. It's like pow wow.
So those industry clouds, I think the user interface that's coming there as well, and the components being built for that user interface, pow wow indeed.
But should we talk about like other sessions that we like?
So
oh my god, only 5 minutes. Oh wow.
Pay-as-you-go licensing. So just I've done a video on that actually, because that of course doesn't hit the headline news, except that it is headline news. There's new pay-as-you-go licensing for Power Apps. So it's like a per user plan, except that you can bill through Azure and you pay per active user, not per user. So for anyone looking at scenarios where there's like massive volume of users but irregular use, this is the go. And I've heard that use case a lot, as I'm sure we all have. So that's we won't delve deep into a licensing discussion, but pay as you go licensing is definitely worth a shout out. What else did you have on your list there, E?
So I had so in terms of like learning content, I tuned into April Dunham's and Oma Lemo's session where they showed you how to build the UI in Canvas apps. And
April's watching. Nice things about April.
Hey April. No, but that was really cool. That was really incredible because they taught us alongside the Microsoft Learn module. So this Microsoft Learn module is available right now, and you can access it and learn alongside it. But what they did, and Oma Lemo, he did such a really amazing job in terms of explaining things well. So if you were watching it for the very first time and you had zero background on Canvas apps, it was really easy to follow. And it was funny because I was on a side chat with Antti. So Antti is another MVP in Finland, and he was like, this makes me want to get into Canvas apps now. And I was just like, he's doing such a great job, right? And it was really cool to see the different techniques that you can apply. Some of them I wasn't aware of, and it's just those little nuggets of knowledge that makes that whole UI experience even better for Canvas apps. So definitely check that out. And then the other session that I did like was Microsoft Access and integration with the Power Platform. So we had Michael Aldridge from the Access team, and then Nathan Helgren from the Dataverse team. And Nathan did the core demo, and it was a really good demo. So you could actually bring in your tables and your data, migrate it from Access into Dataverse or Dataverse for Teams. And after those demos, he has really, really good slides that explain the process as well as questions that you might have. So check that out, and that's really good for companies who are still using a Microsoft Access database for their operations.
That comes up more than you might think, doesn't it?
Yeah. There is something that I do want to also call out, so I'll just share my screen. Is it sharing?
I think I can make it share. You're going to go a degree of difficulty. Oh,
so another
pro with out now.
So another few updates from Microsoft Ignite is that we also have the beautiful updated list of Microsoft Power Platform stories. So it's curated stories from the Power Cat team, so the Power Customer Advisory team at Microsoft, and you'll see a lot of real life stories from customers that have implemented or adopted the Microsoft Power Platform in their company. So a couple of examples, there's Western State Cat. So the champions in there is Justin Bailey and Chris Jakes. So that was type of like a fusion team type of development where they used Chris, who's a pro-code developer, his experience to create a couple of Canvas apps that were also integrated with Power BI. And then other companies in there is CAT, so Custom Air and Product Services. So the champion in there is Rebecca Sackett. And there's a lot of material in here. There's over 80 real life customer stories that you can take a look at. And then to expand on that, we also have the updated champions blog
Now,
where
if I'm not
you
mistaken,
can.
E, these two things you're sharing are both authored by Brian Dang, who's on watching, so thank you.
Yeah, so Brian pulled in some errors to make this happen. So this has again been refreshed, so you'll see people like Brian Holder from T-Mobile, Class from H&M, Georgia from Schlumberger, and then Jackie Peck from Australia. So she's part of here in Australia. So she worked with another champion in there called Umar. And again, it's that whole concept of fusion teams working together to create solutions. Another cool announcement that was made that I don't think was part of Microsoft Ignite, it was just published, was modernizing business units as part of the security roles for Dataverse and Dynamics 365, so go and check it out. The other big thing that was also launched this week as part of Microsoft Ignite was the Power Platform content on the Microsoft adoption site, so go and check that out. If you are a company that doesn't have Microsoft Power Platform right now, but you're thinking about it or you're just starting your journey, check out that site because there's a lot of cool content and a couple of guides on how you can get started in terms of adopting the Microsoft Power Platform in your organization. But yeah, that's all I had to say. What about you? Let's get back to you.
Alexa, now look at me with my screen sharing here. Can I get it back there? Doing well. So for me, and I had my notes here because I've got so much in my head. So the Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit, which we mentioned earlier,
yes,
is a big deal in my world. So there was a whole session that listed on that. I think I would really, really highly rate and recommend, because I mentioned Clay Wesner before in a bit of a fun sort of, he was the persona, but seriously, he did a session. It's an on-demand session called, and I don't have the name of it in front of me, but it was like the in-depth dive to all of the announcements in Power Apps. So there's actually a heap of like Power Apps announcements that we haven't even covered in here. We've got, there's some new stuff in governance around being able to do more sort of granular controls with quarantining certain apps and various things that are important, the pay-as-you-go licensing, the ability to package an app and deploy it via a mobile like as its own app, so it doesn't remove the need. It's still a business application. People still need to be licensed, but you can package the thing up, brand it as an app, and have it distributed through like Google Play or the iOS Apple Store, which for an experience of rolling it out is so much more like an app experience. Don't be confused though that you still have to have a license and log in. It's not a consumer app. I'm a broken record on that, but that experience is good. So there are a bunch of stuff in that session, and where most of the sessions were going at a really rapid pace. Like it was like, wait, what? There's so many things. Clay's session is 16 minutes of just calm, well explained. Here's the announcements in a well structured fashion. So that is definitely 16 minutes worth of your time worth spending. There's another announcement buried deep in. I spotted this one in Ryan Cunningham's session. So he did a session on Dynamics and Teams. It was one of the headline sessions.
Yeah.
But,
I saw that session.
Yeah, Dynamics and Teams, good. There's a couple of things in there. One of them, which is one of my top picks actually, is this search integration. You can have Dataverse search in the main Microsoft 365 search. So you're just doing your normal search. And now your accounts and contacts and stuff from Dynamics or Dataverse will come up in amongst all of your other collaboration search data. So that's huge. And then buried really deep, create adaptive cards using Power Apps.
I didn't see that. Yeah, maybe I didn't watch that part. Yeah,
it was just like it was sort of right towards the end of Ryan's session, and I'm like, wait, what? Hang on, what? So I took a little screenshot of the thing. So yeah, you can actually, that idea of using the Canvas apps type, like that PowerFX type experience to build an adaptive card instead of. So this is my moment to get into adaptive cards now as well. So that was a good one. And the other thing is in customer insights, there's a new feature in there. Now, again, this sits in that category of it's never going to be the sexiest announcement, but this is really important. Consent management in customer insights. We're doing highly personalized, that whole idea of using that and AI to do unified data and highly personalized communications. The laws around privacy and consent now, and even without the laws, the expectation from customers that you respect their privacy and consent preferences as a good brand. So they've added a new thing where you can import your consent data and select, what it means for you, and then all of your segments will respect that without the people using them having to even worry about it. So that's kind of a big deal thing that's never going to hit the sexy demos, but it's an important thing, and I think in terms of the more we start to do that targeted personalized communications, that we're also mindful of targeted personalized consent and privacy things. That's really not maybe as exciting, but definitely really important. So that was in an on-demand session as well. There we go. We could keep going, couldn't we? But we should
I know.
So in summary,
what's the time?
AI collaboration. Elaiza wants to be part of it. Do we get that?
Yes, I want to be a part of it.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone. I've been following some of the chat along the side here. This is our first live stream experience. Maybe we'll do this again. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us live. I'll leave this on the YouTube channel, minus the little bit at the start where we went, are we live? Are we live? So if anyone wants to come back.
Are we off mute?
To come back and watch it afterwards, it will be there. So, tell your friends, and thanks for joining. And this is awesome. Thank you.
I just want to say hi to everyone who's tuning in right now, and thank you so much. And if you, do want to see more of Lisa and E, let us know on Twitter, and we'll see how it goes.
I'll just do it anyway. This is fun. All right, I'm going to hit the end broadcast. Thank you all very much. See you later.